exactly.
Yeah,
No
me,
smiles.
John, Nicole, no fun, no.
Yeah, no.
Alright.
Alright, seeing that's 5 o'clock, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse me, I need to fix this, it's driving me nuts.
Well, good evening. Tonight's agenda, we'll just discuss some things to do down at the park, get into a roundtable discussion, and then we have a few non-publics this evening with taxpayers. And on the non-public subject, just before we get into the Parks and Rec stuff, Ron had made a point. Some people had asked him, you know, how come we don't say whether there was a decision or not, like the following meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be a good point, you know, since some people are looking at just the TV, like keeping track of the non-publics, and we don't have to get into the specifics of a decision, but we could just say maybe a decision or an agreement was reached for each non-public that happened the week before. But typically that would occur if people were here and we go in and out of non-publics, but nobody like comes in to hang out at the meetings. And
But if you seal the minutes, you're not supposed to say anything?
well, no, we can say whether or not there was a decision made. We'll look into it anyways. Like it, you know, if we can add more clarity to some of this, because we've had quite a few. You know, I've gotten a couple of text messages and said, hey, you know, people are like, hey, I want to get a non-public and complain at you guys about something or whatever is going on, because nobody knows what it is.
Right.
Yeah, that we're discussing with the different residents. You know, so
Tell them run for selectmen.
Yeah, exactly.
then you get to have the fun and understand why we have to have non-publics.
Unfortunately.
I always thought that there were too many, and then, man, yeah, it's just something you get caught up in, like in this seat.
Well, and
So-
you can't help but, because you're a lot of times dealing with
Protecting people's
protecting
reputations,
people's reputations and
personal stuff.
personal information.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
just not up for grabs.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yep. I know it was different than what I perceived it, you know, before I ran and got onto the board. I always just thought, why do you have to have non-public anything?
Mm.
Should be on the public purview. So, at any rate, I digress. Mindy, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you wanted to discuss some of the things that your lovely hubby was going to be doing down at the park, hopefully.
Yeah. So I just wanted it to be okay and clear, so when we do have time to get down there, he does obviously, with the rain and everything, his schedules are getting moved around too, so we don't have set days, but he has offered to help me kind of get things moving forward with cleaning up and fixing some things down at the park that have been a bit neglected. So we were hoping to, I guess, keep the time frame vague, because when he has time, he wants to be able to go down there. I would talk to Sue and have it posted on the town site, and then also probably post it on like Life in New Ipswich or something, so that way the playground itself is closed off. We do it on most likely would be a Sunday or Sunday afternoon, for him to get in and do, because he would have to bring equipment down to do this work.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously weather has been an issue. He can work there with the weather. Speaking of,
Yeah.
he could do that in the rain. It's just more of the grass. It's going to turn into muck, and there's a few different project areas that we need to clean up. So the equipment, I guess, we just don't want to make it worse, I guess.
Yeah, and
And
tear
then
up the grass and.
Exactly, and then it'd be a big mud pit down at the field. The sand, no problem, we can tune that up anytime, but if he's already there, you know, we probably want to get as many of the projects done as possible.
Mhm.
So
What are
can
the-
you,
yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna say,
What
can
are
you
the
tell us what the
projects?
projects are?
Yeah, okay, well, not, without getting into too much detail, just because some of the projects where our time, like if we have enough time to do them, but the major project is, there's a piece of equipment that has caused multiple injuries on the kids for years, and it's time for it to go. So he's just gonna take it with the excavator, he's just gonna pull it up out of the ground, and then he'll fix the part that it's attached to, the larger part that's of the post.
Are you talking about that, like the monkey bar, or not the monkey bar
three.
thing, but yeah, there's one that's like, there's like these bars that kids hang on, and they're stepped down, and the lowest one, we're like, kids just clock their heads like right on
Oh,
that
yeah. We've had
continually,
stitches,
yeah. And the bar is even bent.
yeah. The bars, they're like, they're starting to get
Noggins
loose.
knocking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now there's been kids walking across them, they've been sitting up there, they fall off, and then the littler kids are seeing it and trying to do it, and so as much as I'm all about letting a kid climb a tree and see how high they can go, I don't wanna pay the hospital bill. So I think that it might be time for that one in particular, even if we were to replace it with something else down the road, but this one's causing a lot of problems, and even I've before.
I think we were down there one movie night or something when
Right.
somebody, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
she ended up in the hospital. She got like 5 or 6
at that
stitches.
point we like spray painted it fluorescent orange, and I didn't hear too much
Just
like
the
about it
roots.
after, but yeah.
Yeah, you could still see the spray paint on it from where it's like repeatedly been spray painted, so kids will see it.
Can I ask a question? How old is that equipment that's down there?
I mean, it's been there since I moved here 20 years ago.
I remember, I think it was maybe when Dutch was selectman, because I remember him doing that work almost single-handedly.
Oh, alright.
See, I thought he just put the small one in. I could be wrong, because the bigger part is older than 12 and under or whatever, or not 12 and under, the 6 and under, whatever that
Yeah.
small one is. I
I,
thought
I
that-
remember him laying out. I happened to stop down there to see when swim lessons were, and maybe other people came after. I don't know.
Yeah.
My
But so
father,
I'm guessing it was. When was that?
I don't know.
Gosh,
That
that
was
was
a while ago
That was
now.
like 15 years ago.
Yeah, time goes by quick.
my reason for asking that is I wonder if like codes are different now and
Do they have codes on kids?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
oh yeah.
Yes. I just took a
On
whole
playground
webinar on
equipment.
safety on the park, and we're not up to par
But
at the
it's
moment.
got to be like grandfathered in if they're changing codes all the time.
It's more or less not necessarily grandfathered in. They're just a little bit less, they're not as tight when they know that there's a tight budget or a small town. Like they allow things to be, like we're, they prefer to have bark mulch because if you fall, it's less, but like what we've found is most parents do not like bark mulch because you get splinters. There's a lot of mildews and stuff that grow in bark mulch. And so the feedback I've gotten from other towns, this again is based off of years ago when we brought sand in a few years back to make it more even, which we'll probably end up having to bring some sand in again this time. But what would happen is it has to get replenished like every year, and the cost was outrageous. The problems that they caused were worse than having the sand there. Plus, it's not as fun to play in bark mulch as it is sand. So when it comes to that, with the equipment, now that's in a whole other thing because I will be replacing all the swings, things like that. The chains are rusted, the swings are ripped. But that's something that I want to do in the spring so we don't have them sitting out all winter long. It doesn't make any sense to do that. We have a fund for a handicap swing, but we actually had one just donated to us. So that's sitting at a friend's house, and they they found out we were raising money for it, and somebody donated one. So
Can
we
that
actually
be attached to the swing set that we have, or does
Mhm.
it need its own?
No, it can be attached. And that was why it hadn't been put up, was what kind of chains do we need to use it, that sort of thing. It's an easy fix
Mhm.
once we physically get it, look at it. But again, this is a part of the playground project, I guess. That wouldn't really begin until springtime, just for wear purposes. I don't want to put new stuff down there for the winter.
Now that money that was raised for the, like, that we have for the handicap swing, you know, should or could that be put towards some other type of handicap accessible playground product?
Absolutely.
Or
I'd love
yeah.
to do that. Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
I actually went on a website and was looking at different projects. It is a little pricey, but I feel like even if we matched what was raised already, I feel like that's completely fair and
Mhm.
would make sense. So I think, you know, we're looking at about $1,200 to put into a secondary toy or ride or something for a child that can't use everything else or most of the other things. So I think that's a really good idea. Yeah, and it is something that I just didn't know if we could do that, if it was where it was a chair fundraiser, but we don't need to.
Yeah.
Or I don't think we'd need to often enough to justify buying two and then not something else.
Because chances are, if you put two down, you know, then there's gonna be more kids just that play in it
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah,
utilize it.
yeah, right.
Or we could always use it to buy the backup one now and have it on hand, like if it should break.
I was just gonna say that too, because as soon as you said kids playing on it, I'm like, well, we could save it and
Yeah.
keep it. So that's actually a really good idea too. And the chairs run about $800 to $900 a piece.
Mhm.
So it's still under what I would, like I said, if we matched it, we'd only have to add another $300 or something to it.
Because that was what was raised was about 600, right?
Yeah, it's just under, yeah.
Yeah.
So, either way, I'm open to anything like that. I'd love to put some more things in. I know there's a couple parents, I don't wanna use names, obviously, I don't have permission, but, there's a couple parents that are really interested in getting some more or something different or kind of updating some of the other things to the littler kids play area. There's some things are broken, cracked, they're starting to become hazards.
Mhm.
So I think we do need to start thinking about that in maybe the future, about maybe starting to replace, you know, I'm talking about swings, that's maybe, you know, in chains, that's about, the quote I got was I think around $2,900, it was $2,900 for every swing, almost exactly how it was, except adding a handicap accessible chair or swing. If we start thinking ahead about fixing stuff like that, like the other parts of the playground,
Mhm.
you know, obviously that's significant money.
Yeah.
So we'd have to think about that either for the capital reserve money that would be Parks and Rec would be a
Yeah.
capital reserve, something that would be appropriate for.
Yeah, and that'd be, you know, something that you would add to the CIP.
Yeah.
You know, like, and even if it doesn't get added this year, you know, please mention it to the FAC guys.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, you're looking, and then they can at least make the note, and then it'll go before the planning board stuff, and
Yeah. Yeah, I know everything does take baby steps, and I do think coming in, the downside is that nothing's really been maintained. And so we're at a point now where things are dangerous
Mhm.
and things are broken, literally. So that's where I kind of get a little bit more like, I think we need to start thinking about this. Like the Gaga court, it's trashed, you know, it's just, the kids use it all the time.
I never heard of Gaga until I took my grandkids to the playground the other day and they showed me this big gated in thing and I'm like, what is that for? They're like, it's Gaga ball. And I'm like, what is Gaga ball? Never heard of it in my life.
Yeah. Maybe replace dodgeball, right? Or
Apparently.
something. Yeah.
I mean, it still kind of is dodgeball. It's just a little bit.
Yeah, it
more
depends on
PC
the sides of
dodgeball.
the kids. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I put some Lady Gaga on my Spotify while they were playing.
That's
It was
actually
just the
fun.
three of them.
No, that's cute.
But, you know.
So is that on the list for when you guys were gonna
Yeah, so what we were thinking about with that part, with the Gaga Court area, is moving it because there's rocks and stones and all that, and what we had thought about doing is putting it in a better position on the field, because right now it's kind of just, it's almost like behind
It is.
shed.
If you're sitting in the playground with some kids in the playground and some over there, you can't really see what's
Exactly. So we had thought about maybe putting it on the, if you're looking straight at the volleyball court, maybe to the right of the volleyball court. And that would actually work out pretty good because we could scrape down and get rid of the rest of the nails and staples and whatnot that were left behind from bonfires in the past. And the wood is all, as much as that's been around, I think that is newer wood, and it's still about 10 years old, unless something's happened in the last 7 years that I don't know about.
What are we
No,
talking
that was the
about?
one
The
that was
Gaga Court.
put in with,
Oh.
when Deb, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Deb and Eric were doing it. I was
Yeah.
just volunteer back in the day, but it was done,
Yeah.
I think, I want to say 10 years.
Yeah.
So this one that I took the kids to had those mats with the holes in them,
Mhm.
like the cushiony mats underneath the whole thing, and it was like this thick, like Rubbermaid shed type of like
Yeah.
gate thing all the way around
Oh,
it.
we go pressure treated lumber and
Right.
rocks and dirt.
I was just gonna say, $200 and we got a
I mean-
Gaga court.
This was sand down, so.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah, okay, you know.
Yeah,
We're
simmer
in
down,
Ipswich,
Debbie,
don't
simmer down.
compare towns.
I know. I have video. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
like this
actually,
way. That's why we make our kids tough.
yeah. We
Right.
actually
Yeah.
put one in our backyard when our kids were little too, because they loved it so much that we threw it together.
How long has this been around? And
I don't know.
how
It's
old
been a
am I?
You're not old at all, honey. But yeah, so the Gaga court, I think moving it is a really good idea. And then the fire pit, the barbecue pit.
Yeah.
So we wanted to clean out underneath the spot of where that's going to be put. We do them every single year, multiple times a year. Every year we fry the grass, and it makes sense. And we already have product to build one for like a more formal setting. That way it's in the same place every time, and not like on the volleyball court one year, or on next to it, a little too close to this, a little too close to that. But Sean and a couple other people, you guys were gonna market.
Yeah, like I was trying to figure out where they were thinking of doing it,
Yeah.
just to see if it made sense, because I think the spot that came up was kind of where the Gaga court is now, like down that side.
Yeah, like a little bit further back,
Yeah.
but not too far that it's like in the woods.
Yep.
Yeah, that would make the most
Yeah, they
sense.
have some. Yeah, the barbecue pits down there.
Yeah.
Because right now they have all the block from years past just stacked,
Mhm.
like towards the woods. So we were gonna see if it was alright to do the barbecue pit down there. We just hadn't had the follow-up conversations yet.
So this would be,
That'd be like springtime.
but it would be a permanent fixture,
Yeah.
not loose blocks.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, we'd have to think, that one's something to think about too, because it is at a field. We do maybe a cover, like some sort of, maybe tarp it or something in between uses. Just, I'm thinking keeping the kids off of it, or at least
Out of it.
out of it,
Yeah.
something like that. That way it's there, they know it's there. It's
Mhm.
kind of like fencing. They know it's there, but they still want to climb it,
Yeah.
and their
Yeah.
kids. And if it's put back a little bit, it's not, again, like we were saying, if they're at the playground, they're not gonna be going around the corner and hiding on mom. And if they are, mom can go and see.
Then
where they're
especially you don't want a tarp, because under the tarp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just cut a hole and
I'm
that's a
just saying,
fort.
we cover everything in a tarp. It's fine. It's covered by the tarp. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that's more of just another area that needs to be kind of cleared out and prepped. So it was that one though, and then the stone in front of the garage doors, the bay doors. It's a mess. It always has been.
Yeah, it's like a little pool for water
Yeah.
over there.
Mm.
Cool. Mosquito breeding ground.
Mhm. Just
Yeah.
like the old days, the pool used to be all just dirt, all lined in sand. Yeah, it gets real mucky in there, and the drainage around the building is a huge problem. My husband he had a field day down there, and not in a good way, of all the things that need to, because this is what he does for a living. But the one thing he said, he's like, I want to pull this back, get the drainage going away from the building, so he'd have to take up some material.
Would it pay to have the highway department bring some material down there and leave a pile for him?
If they wanted to do that, that would be awesome, because otherwise,
I think we should, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
is this a contract or is this volunteer that you're?
this is all volunteer work.
Yeah, then I think absolutely we should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I can talk to Peter about it, but we'd need to know what he'd be looking for.
Yeah,
Gravel,
he did say
sand.
some sort of crushed stone, but I don't know if he would want to do. I don't know like the proper.
Yeah, if you could
Layers.
find out and
I will.
either let me or Debbie could let Peter know too.
Okay.
Either way.
Yeah, that'd be
I think it
awesome.
would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's more. That almost is just as big a priority as the sand is for me. Sand is more of a safety.
Well, the drainage helps preserve buildings.
Yeah, which is not happening. And again, that was something else that came up too. There's a big bush next to one of the garage doors on the right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have them root it,
Perfect.
because they trimmed it back, but it's impeding on the foundation, and it's in. I mean, if it's blocking a door.
Well, it's almost like when you trim it, it comes back twice as
Twice as
fast.
big.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like next
so-
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is just a bush. We did check it. It's not a tree, but we got to get it out. It's actually could possibly be a problem with the septic too, because that's right where it is. He had noticed that too. He's like, if these roots are super deep, it could be a bigger problem. But
Yeah, maybe better not yank it.
yeah, I don't think he's gonna yank it anyway. But he's gonna get the bulk of it out, and then he'll like backfill.
Because there had been some septic issues, like it getting clogged this year, and then even in years past. And I'm not sure what they do to clear it out, but it ends up going away. I forget who we had used, and then I know Shauna called somebody, I think, to have him come. I don't know if it was like Roto-Rooter or something like that. But it very well could be.
Yeah.
And it just,
They're
it's a
clearing
good
it
time.
to
The
do it.
pool's closed, and
Yeah.
if it is something like that, then if it's not that easy and can't get it fixed before winter, certainly in the
Yeah.
spring.
So the other thing too, on the left-hand side, there are some other bushes that have gotten way out of control, and it's like they're again, we're at a playground. We need to be able to see the kids. There's so many places in there that they could hide, and there's things in there that there's the kids are hiding. There's old vape things. There's the little liquor bottles. Like there's just stuff you find in there that you're gonna find in any town. So I feel like if we have less of that and we keep it nice and cleaned out.
More open.
Yeah, more open space. Plus there's like a whole bench behind there and people don't even know they could sit and watch. Like there's all this stuff like behind this area where it used to be all cleaned up and tidy.
Yeah.
It's just overgrown.
Which is a pretty odd bench, because it's like
It's so weird.
in this weird little nook so you can view the pool.
I just watch people swim. Yeah, it's like it's a little
It's
creepy.
pretty
Little
strange.
voyeurish.
Yeah, like a little uncomfortable about it. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
if we had swim
Spin it
meets
around.
if we had swim meets at the pool again, like that would be why that section was there.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
that-
so you could see the kids swim.
I think that was the original. In
Yeah.
like swim lessons for the older kids, the parents have little kids out, but now they wouldn't be able to see their
And
kids.
that would be
on the
much
playground.
better, like to take the bushes out of the way, so it's not like a hidden little nook.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
It's probably used as something else too.
It could be. But so that's the biggest things were more or less just to kind of clean up some things, make things a little bit safer, and then start working on some of these drainage issues that we're really going to have to look into and really talk about more so next year, about like the drainage and the runoff and things like that are really ruining the foundation. But I spoke a little bit about it with Debbie before, and I think she thinks it might be more of a GGB thing than a rec thing. My it was just, we happened to be down there and he was just like, this is not okay.
Yeah.
So there's some, you know, gutters and things like that. In the cafe, All Star Cafe is a huge problem for the building.
Mm-hmm.
It's causing some problems, so that should either be moved or maybe another one maybe put in its place.
Yeah.
It might be time
Yeah, that
for
one's
that one
pretty
to be
rough.
retired,
Yeah.
yeah. Use it
It's
for
had a few
storage.
lifetimes already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in pretty rough shape.
What is this?
The cafe.
Itself?
Yeah.
Building?
The building itself is in really bad shape. I think it's probably time for retirement. We could probably get another year or two out of it and not get some sort of funky disease, but
So, what is Mark getting quotes for roofs for?
that was something him and Peter talked about,
Right.
and he had
Was
mentioned
it the All Star Cafe though? Wasn't that one of them?
No, the cafe I think is in the way. Yeah, he's talking about the filter house, the pool house only. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I
and
guess
we weren't
the old 3-tab shingles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that but he and I did talk about that because I said something about getting some, once the roof was done, getting just at least on that side, on the playground side, getting gutters and then having the drainage go underground and run out away from the building because it's just pooling.
Mm-hmm.
And then back to where Anthony comes in. He wants to fix it so he can just pull it and grade it back so that way it comes away from it, because right now everything goes to the building.
Right.
So at least that section would be fixed for now until we can put a little bit more time. And if I gave him the whole field for a month, it would be completely flat, beautiful, graded, everything would be underground drainage, it would be amazing, and he'd probably be a really happy guy, but we have to do this in sections and
Yeah.
when the time
So
is
would
right.
he be looking for help?
Anthony, he's
Yeah.
not looking for any help.
He doesn't want an army of volunteers to get in his way.
We've done it before where people came down and raked, but we had a huge dump of sand. Right now, he thinks that he might be able to just pull back from because it's all stuffed underneath the playground. He thinks if he needs more sand, that would be once he gets down there and starts pulling it back out. We might need a little bit for where the swings are, just because there's like you gotta be 7 feet tall to get into a swing right now. But he said if it's him, he'll have a smaller excavator, like a mini excavator, and then his skid steer. He can pretty much do all of it by himself after a few hours. So, but the other stuff, and again, we have kids, so they can help. It's good.
Yeah.
And if I really need help, I'll just make Sean come down too. Like, you're not busy, right?
Yeah.
You're never busy.
I can work with Anthony.
Yeah. Yeah. He's fast though. You gotta be
Yeah.
moving just at his pace or you're just in his way. So
Yeah.
yeah. But if we did need to reach out, obviously that would be something, but it's not going to be, everything would be donated time. It would be this people like-minded that wanna help and just do this to make it better. We're not looking to spend a ton of money. It's product, and then if we have to, like long term, like we were talking about the swings and stuff like that, and then eventually different equipment and everything. But crushed
And I've
stone,
seen grants too for playground stuff.
it's really hard to compete for grants. I can write grants okay. I have a little bit of experience in it, and I was able to get a pretty good grant back in the day, a couple of years ago. But I would like to try and get some grants just for various things. There's a few things around the park that need a little TLC, so, but we haven't touched on it because we really haven't had a chance to even talk.
No.
Busy guy. So it's more
So we
just,
get into like the maintenance stuff and trying to get things
Yeah.
up to par.
Right.
You know, what we can do
Exactly.
before winter and
Yeah.
kind of prep for
exactly.
spring
Yeah.
stuff and
Prioritizing and making sure that our lists are on the same page. And right now, just getting the drainage for that, play, by the doors, getting those bushes and not trees, they're bushes. The overgrown stuff
Yeah.
removed, and then get the sand kind of fixed and get that one piece of equipment out.
Cool.
Yeah, and then we're gonna get into fundraising pretty heavily for the park also. I have some people that really wanna do that, so I'm gonna start, that would be a project for next year also that we start kicking off and really kind of pushing to get some new equipment and things like that. And
No, I've heard a couple times in this room about a gazebo. Is that like
Well,
active? or
not
is
so much a
that
gazebo,
old?
but a pavilion.
A
So-
pavilion.
Yeah.
so
like the purpose of the pavilion over a gazebo, because the gazebo conversation was newer and kind of like online, but a pavilion would serve the full community, because you'd essentially be able to have picnic tables under it and
That'd be awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, it would.
yeah. So hopefully that's like number one on the list of how do we get there. Hopefully next year, but it's
Yeah.
just sort of like over the winter try to come up with.
What are the thoughts on it, like size wise?
It varies, so it like goes all the way from basic with just where you could probably fit 8 or 10 picnic tables under it, and it's just posts that come up out of the ground with a roof, all the way to a slab with like the snack shack actually incorporated into the pavilion, so that we have like a nice fixed structure, like in order to do things there. We could actually probably even rent it out for events, like people's, like if
Wedding.
they, whatever.
yeah,
Wanna get
Yeah.
married in the Blue
Yeah.
This
Park.
is, I would say, this has been something that's been this predates me being involved even before. Deb Holmes and I were already in the process of getting it all going, which is why we had built up and we were taking on the soccer program, the softball. Anytime we saw a new program, we were taking it on, was to build up the money and revolving fund to make this pavilion happen. So ideally, when Deb Holmes and I had first started talking about it, and then Sean got brought in, because, Sean got brought in, welcome. And then over the years, it's kind of been just put off for whatever reason, but what the goal was for the summer camp, because they need to have somewhere to go in the rain, thunder, things like that.
Shade.
That was, yeah, and that was, we have no shade on that field except for a tree that needs to be severely trimmed back. It is starting to affect the baseball field, and their building actually too. But the pavilion, I foresee it being a slab, only because of drainage problems we already have. The field is not level. It is kind of still sitting on a swamp. Having a slab would help with all of the wet issues that we have on that field all the time. Personally, I would, if it was something that was a top priority and we wanted to do it next year, the slab should go in this fall after soccer season, and then whatever, even if it was a temporary pavilion for, I think it was, I quoted one, it was like a 20, it was 22 by 28, I believe. It was smaller, but it was a temporary, and it was about $3,000, and you do the same thing you would do with the bigger permanent pavilion, but it could be a fix for a few years if we needed to wait and raise like money because they do range anywhere from $45,000 to $75,000 for like a 28 by 40, which would fit the cafe and many, many picnic tables. Picnic tables could also be a fundraiser too.
Yeah.
You buy a picnic table, somebody, donates X amount of dollars, they get a picnic table.
Yeah, you can
Well,
have
it's
your
also,
name etched in
you
with
could
a
have like
plaque.
the name, it's Memorial
Yeah.
Park too,
Right.
so we've always been trying to, that was another thing that kind of got lost from that time period, was
Yeah.
trying to figure out how do we actually honor that name Memorial Park. So we can't rename the park or like equipment necessarily, but we were talking about buy a brick, like to brick in an area at one point that could be a part of the pavilion
Yep.
somehow, the
A
picnic
walkway or
tables.
something,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you can engrave
in
them.
honor of.
Yep.
Yeah.
They did a beautiful, beautiful brick. It's more of it's more of a space in Pepperell where I come from, and they bought to build this beautiful memorial. I think it's for Vietnam War veterans, and their names are engraved in the bricks all along this whole thing. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's at the right at the Oval in town. And
I was gonna say like the Milford Oval too. That whole
Yep.
oval is
Yeah,
all
there's names in
bricks.
those
Mhm.
bricks. Yeah.
it's a really great idea, and it can be added to all like at any point.
right.
And more funds can go to anything we wanted to upgrade or fix or maintain on the pavilion or the area. I'm a huge supporter of anything that's memorializing members of our community or members of the military,
Mm-hmm.
anything like that, or people that have been a huge part of our town.
Mhm.
I mean, that we had that huge Gamble event about 9 years ago now.
Yeah, and that's kind of where some of the like the optional discussion started, because we were looking to name the basketball court
Gamble courts.
Gamble Courts, but then the select board at the time we were like, no, there's been a lot of people that have come before that have done probably more, is what they were saying,
Mm.
you know, and then this is just a blip in time. So like, why would you name a whole court? It's already named Memorial Park. So we took that in as like, well, it's already named Memorial Park. What's some other creative way to like,
Yeah.
like have it be Memorial Park?
But like each fixture or something, like you could
Yeah.
name it Gamble Courts and
Yeah, I mean, I always liked Gamble
You know, like-
Courts just because the person who he put out almost most of the electricity for free into the field. He donated money every single year to make sure that he had his own children that played sports. He donated money every year to make sure that if there was any kids that couldn't afford it, there was money there to let them play for free. He was a huge part of the town. I did not personally know him, but we have mutual friends that were very close to him, and they helped and pretty much ran the event we did, and we raised about just under $10,000.
wow.
And then I think we had to add about 5,000 or 6,000, and we resealed and then repainted the courts that are still in really good shape. Actually, shockingly, to be completely honest, I'm
So
surprised.
isn't that where the hoops came from
The
too?
hoops,
That
yep.
came out
Brand
of
new
that.
hoops, brand new nets, everything.
Which
Almost-
those need to be reset again
Yeah.
with a lot more cement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're
because they're
gonna ask
like, because it's just liquid down there, the ground,
Yeah.
so it's
Mm.
just, you know, the hoops, you know, tipping in and,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that would be another thing too, is, that's another fun thing, is putting together events like, basketball tournaments. Everybody loves them.
Mhm.
They happen all year round. Everybody likes to go to them. They're super fun. You can make them more fun by doing them at different times of the year, and we can get the money to reset them.
Yeah.
I love to raise money. I don't want to tap into the town budget. I don't like my taxes being high. I really don't. I'm not going to come in here and ask for $50,000 on this rec budget just so I can get something that we need. I would like to raise the money, and we have the capability to do it. So, anyway, to make a very short meeting long. I just want to make sure it's okay for him to donate his time and the equipment to go down there and just start kind of picking away at some of these little issues, and then when you guys are ready for the big productions, I'm already got a hard hat ready to go, so
Yeah.
he's got to tell me, hey, okay, a lot.
Just one other question on that pavilion. Is there a separate fund set up for it, or is it just the revolving fund?
No, so the revolving fund is when we first started doing it, there was like no money in a revolving fund. The basketball court actually cost the town money when I first got involved, and I was like, that's insane. Basketball should be making a ton of money. So when we started restructuring the rec department financially, I wanted to get everything off the town budget and into revolving. And that's kind of where we started. And the goal is everything that we need for the park should come out of revolving or capital reserve. there should be no need to touch the other, like the town budgets for salary and, I don't know, you guys have like adult rec or something, I'm not sure what that is right now, because,
Yeah, no, there's all sorts of, that was like an initial kickoff, you
yeah,
know, that we got approved and then it was
exactly.
kept
Yeah.
in there, and that's what started the pickleball and
Exactly, which is
all that
awesome.
stuff,
And then
yeah, but then
COVID kind of shut
and then it
all
wasn't
that stuff
fee,
down.
it was fee free,
Yeah, I
and
love
that's,
that.
so that's why it's a part of the general budget,
Yeah.
like that adult rec
we
part.
don't, and I'd love to see it up again if we could, but that's how and why we put everything into revolving fund, was because anything that was in there was pretty much to make the betterment, as long as the programs have everything that they need to do, the extra money is supposed to go into the fields, because that is literally in the name of the department is parks and the recreation. Kids
Yeah.
have uniforms, they've got good solid balls to use for every sport they're using, they have the right equipment, and their fields are good, and that's the most important thing. But also, we gotta take care of our park, right? So that's why, that's how it was set up. So we don't have like a certain place for that, because we never thought we needed to do it that way.
How much does that thing run on average?
What,
The balance on the revolver?
right now, we have 83,000 in revolving.
Mhm.
But we also haven't subtracted, that was for August, and we haven't subtracted some things that didn't come off the credit cards or, you know, weren't included in certain things. So it'll dip down a little bit, not much.
But there's enough to get a big chunk of that pavilion done.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like where kind of that is, so the softball, people this year raised around $13,000 towards,
13.3.
towards lights, like hopefully to piggyback off of the baseball approval of getting lights down there. But then just the fixtures themselves are 45,000, and that's not with the poles.
I've been looking for polls. Actually, I have Peter Somro reaching out to towns too.
Okay.
Looking for minimum 50-foot posts,
Mhm.
whether it be the metal ones or the wood that we traditionally use on our fields and the road.
Yeah.
For the light fixtures, it would be cheaper to do the wood ones. We only need 4, but the installation is a huge cost too. And again, it's mud. So
But like a part of that, like the revolving fund,
Mhm.
where you're thinking like if like that fundraising effort could get to the point where it just needed another $12,000 or $15,000,
yeah,
that would be the contribution from that revolving fund.
Yeah.
Would just to like finish off that project. So there are kind of like nothing really set in stone. It's just sort of ideas of how to get everything
Yeah.
done within
yeah,
a couple few years, and now there's that energy to like focus down at the park and
yeah.
just drive some of these initiatives home, because
Mhm.
you know, various things pop up over time, and then it just takes that consistent push from behind, like to carry it through, like to finish that
Right.
light fundraiser effort, and then to see how much we're behind on the pavilion part, because we can't just drain the revolving fund, because first and foremost,
Yeah.
that's to
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
prep for the next sports season, but there
And then-
has been money continually put in, and that's all just fee based from you know,
Yeah.
the kids that register to play.
and that's why it's important to remember too, with the lights and the pavilion and these things, it's important to remember that this is not like town tax money, this is people putting their money in so their kids have the right equipment, sports, fields, everything is about their kids, and so we wanna take that money and make sure it's being used properly too.
It's
And that's
awesome.
something,
Yeah.
It's really good.
yeah,
And the other thing I was saying to Mindy too about like the slab, we have enough concrete companies
You
in
would think.
town.
Oh, but it's already been
maybe.
pledged, like
Oh,
the
it
slab,
has?
yeah.
Oh,
So it's more that the wood structure part of it.
right. Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
well, we
Yeah.
don't, I
Or
don't know
you
if
could
wood's the
go with
right way to
steel.
go, steel's probably the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll pledge the detailing for the steel.
I think the steel is a really good way to go, just because it's gonna last significantly longer, and then the maintenance
And
on it,
less
you don't have to
maintenance.
seal it
I
every
actually
year.
have drawn a lot of canopy.
Yeah,
Alright,
Okay,
okay,
I love it.
it's awesome.
Lock.
And I know companies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
There we go.
It's
Sounds
gonna be,
good.
I think, our thing, and I don't
I
think it's gonna
forget
be
you're a
very
steel
hard,
guy.
is getting hands, and I think that, like Sean was saying, we get momentum going, and I do think Sean and I are a pretty good team when it comes to like rallying people to get stuff, because we both have, he's a little calmer than I am, but I have like 50 ideas at a time, and he's good at kind of honing them in of like, okay, this is what we need to focus on today. But if we could get a slab down, if we could get the area figured out and then work from there, I do think also we have to get, the All-Star Cafe is gonna have to get out of there. Having the option of putting it on the right side of the cafe also will bring in parents, will be more likely to volunteer to run it, because that's a huge problem, but they'll be able to watch their games if they're a soccer field over there, a baseball game, or a softball game. They can see the whole thing.
Oh, so that's like where that
Yeah.
pavilion is like articulated in that like
Yeah.
open space that we
Yeah.
have now. Somehow, like
Right.
I'm not sure. Like it's been proposed all sorts of different ways, but
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
like
can still
coming up
watch
with
your
the
kid
most
playing while
ideal.
you're volunteering, working at the cafe.
yeah.
Or see it, watch them on the playground without, like
Yeah.
we were saying too, and then it gets it off the pool building too, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
wrecking it. But yeah, there's a lot of things that have been little chit chats here and there. But if we could, I mean, like I said, we got Anthony with the equipment. He's obviously there. We can get some material for the underlay, and then if we have that already, you know.
Oh, well, you
something
see Peter every week,
every day.
every day. So,
Yeah.
are we agreed that the DPW should
Yeah,
provide
absolutely.
material? So you
Yeah.
can talk to Peter. You don't need to involve me or Debbie.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk to him and see
Yeah.
what we can, and then I'll talk to my husband tonight to see what he wants to use,
Yeah.
and then I'll have Peter order it up and put it.
Or you probably even have it.
I
Yeah.
was gonna,
That's the
yeah,
thing. I'm sure it's not a lot of material.
Yeah.
Right.
A dump truck load of this and
yeah,
or that. I don't
Yeah, and then
know.
just keep
So-
in mind that sand and like some loam when you're talking to them,
Yeah.
like for those divots in the soccer fields.
yeah,
Yeah, and I'll try to get quantities for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be happy if you wanna put sand out in the field, though, I'll tell you that. He's gonna think it's like,
Yeah.
you said sand, and I was like, please don't put sand in the field.
No, I agree. That's why I said
Yeah,
the
I was like,
mulch or loam though is tough with all the rain because it just
I
turns
know.
into like a mud puddle.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm sure we could figure it out, even if we put sand and a layer of loom over it, just for now, just so it's,
Okay.
or,
Yeah, I'll try to take a can
So
of
no one
spray
breaks
paint.
any
And,
ankle.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
kids' ankles are obviously incredibly important to keep attached, so
yeah.
we wanna
Yeah.
make sure
At least one.
I mean, a good one, good one.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, if you guys are okay with that, obviously Sean and I will keep in touch of what's happening when, and then I'll let Debbie and we'll let Debbie and Sue know so Sue can post it
Yeah,
Yeah.
of when.
yeah, and I
everything's on
think
there.
like before and after pictures would be cool, so we can put them on the website
Yeah, the
or
website.
something,
Start working
and
on
Facebook.
the rec website again, and
Yeah,
you
I
know?
love that.
I'll
Yeah, I
have
don't even
to-
have access to the website.
I'll have to say,
I'll get you that
when I
tomorrow.
look at this book and I see the budget for Parks and Rec, what a tremendous job this town does.
Right.
Mhm.
Huh?
Yeah, I know.
This kind of money,
I
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
it's
That,
amazing.
that's
There's
just
our-
like that. Just keeps the pulse going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that money, and then the rest of it is
Right.
it's just all volunteers, sweat, and
What,
yeah,
what a way
Yeah.
to do it, because I've talked with someone involved in their town, and they're like, it's a similar sized town, and their budget's like $120,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Not to say that there aren't discussions about that potentially, being proposed to be pushed up a little bit, because some of the issues has been consistency issues. Because when you rely on that sheer volunteer structure for the core group, that's where you end up with the bumps in the road and all these initiatives that sort of like start to go and then stop.
Yeah,
Because
right.
you only have so much energy to keep
Sure.
that
Yeah.
push up.
Yeah.
So there was,
Well,
know,
that's just the name of the game in
Yeah.
government, Sean. There's
Yeah.
always, maybe we could get a little bit more this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're trying to keep
But we
it
find a balance
still
somewhere.
incentive based, like so that everybody's encouraged. So if the programs are doing good, and that's where some of the thought is to augment some of the stipends like to have some like in the general budget, and then have there be almost like a bonus structure of if the sport does this, then like the coordinator gets like coming up with like a percentage structure so that it keeps everybody encouraged, and they'll do the better you do with the program, the more people come in, then
Yeah.
you know the admin, all the coordinators, like everybody does better when it's healthy instead of it being
Yeah.
top loaded like so many towns are, where it all comes from taxpayer money,
Yeah.
and people just sit in their chairs and
I was just
try to
gonna say
direct,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
you're always hiring more employees.
that. Yeah.
Right.
That's
So-
why with having the director position, we're trying out something new with me. I think it works. Personally, I think it works better because it's keeping you in check,
Mhm.
but also it's also because I had a problem. I would think I made like 5,000 a year, and I was putting in an average like 35 to 40 hours a week at the fields, like because I would do everything myself. I'd paint the benches. It didn't matter, and that wore me out. And you would like, Mindy, just slow down, don't quit, slow down, and it worked. I was done, and that's what happens though. So
Yeah, because you hit that little bump,
yeah.
and then enough. Like
Yeah.
enough's enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was a hard, and it would have been a hard couple more years after that too. I don't know if I would have made it through. So.
Yep.
But I think for sure that the structure could work the way that we've been talking about a little bit, and we've again structured it a little bit differently with me compared to Shauna, where it was just like a set amount. And I don't know, I really, because my kids don't do the rec stuff, and they haven't for a little bit now, so I really don't know how all of the things work with how she ran things. So, but with me, it's pretty much just a lot of admin right now, which is good because it needs to be done, and that someone needs to be doing that and allowing the sports to do their thing. Now we just kind of kicked off dance, which is nice because it's like a nice year-round thing that we're going to be starting up. So sign-ups coming up Friday.
And kind of like flip the whole org chart.
Exactly.
So instead of it being top down, like that one at the top down,
Yeah,
turn it on its head. So now it's like a tree.
yeah,
So the admin like is at that base of roots, and we're underneath the select board, and like the town office is even underneath of that, like feeding the roots. And then it's kind of just like this, all the different coordinators, like kind of branch out like a big oak tree, and
Like a big family tree.
yeah, and then you
Yeah.
have all the leaves, which are the community members, and
yeah.
You better stop, Sean.
I
It's
know.
getting way
I'm
too
gonna
He's
get
getting,
teared up.
I was gonna say, he's gonna pull on the heartstrings.
yeah.
But yeah, the idea is nice, and I hope it does. I hope that what he has comes to fruition, and it does work, because I think the idea is, he's got the right idea. It's just getting everything in place and getting through these, like you were saying, like bumps. We still have to get through them, and keep some people that are really kind of important to the program right now, keep them and not lose them. So
I'm trying to come up with like the way to have it be plug and play. So if somebody's interested in one thing, they can step in for that season and then come out, and then another person comes and gets inserted like into the role, so that you fight some of that fatigue aspect.
yeah.
So it's just trying to find that right path, and it's all has to be documented. So it's kind of a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
But once it's done, it should be a good framework going forward.
Cool.
Yeah, and
Little
we'll have
tiny
a
thing.
stable,
Yeah.
relatively inexpensive rec department.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Goal.
5 minutes is up.
I
Yeah.
know. I told you, I was like, I'm in, I'm out.
Hey, good job though. You didn't talk
Yeah.
about softball once.
It was awesome.
I almost did.
Yeah.
I
I
it
said the
almost
word.
slipped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
it's awesome. Good plans. I love it.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to have a conversation about that, because there is something we have to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
We won't drag everybody into it.
All
But
right.
yeah, so if you guys are all set with that,
Yeah.
okay, cool, and I'll talk to Peter
Cool.
and see what we can get once I talk to Ants about what kind of material they get.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Very cool. Awesome,
Yay.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mindy.
Thank you, ma'am. Happy birthday tomorrow.
Thanks.
Oh, happy birthday tomorrow.
Thanks for everybody in the entire town watching. Appreciate that,
You're
Dad.
welcome. Anytime. I know how you love birthdays.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
You guys don't.
You leave it open now, cause when we
Yeah.
go into non-public, we're actually gonna go into the other room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you too.
Bye,
Yeah.
thanks.
That was interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
All old news to you, but all brand new news to me.
Yeah, no, it was a necessary, like,
Yeah.
update,
Yeah.
Nice
Love
to
it.
see that's probably one of the more active committees,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, yeah, yep. Yeah, that's why I was just trying to come up with that new structure, going forward, but yeah, like to
How
help
many
everybody.
people would you offhand say are behind the scenes in a given year for Parks and Rec?
Including everything like sports.
Like the the volunteers.
Yeah, all the coaches,
We're looking at
All
100
the-
people at least.
Parents
well,
who
with each
volunteer.
given sport, yeah, like each will have at least like 10 teams, maybe up to 20, like for basketball, like 20 some odd teams, 200, yeah, probably in between 200 and 300 people, that, help and support the youth, and that's just the sports aspect,
That
yeah,
kind of lends a little bit of weight to the old master plan, huh?
yeah, which is, it's kind of neat how it's happened without that extreme funding, through tax
Yeah.
dollars, and it's still there and alive, though it's
Yeah.
hit the points where it's just been close to not continuing, but then
Mhm.
it's just the reins get picked up, and it'll be a couple or a few years, that people will kind of lead that charge,
Yeah.
and then it kind of you just sort of
Awesome.
recycle. So that's why we'd like to
That's
stabilize it and really help everybody be able to help more, because there
Right.
is no shortage of people that come out to help when asked. The field cleanup days for baseball in the spring are just, and softball, you go down to the park and there's easily 50, 100 people down just, so even that estimate of 300 could go up, just given on the different
Yeah.
things, but it
That's
is
awesome.
a true community effort to keep our Parks and Rec department going and serving our community. Everybody's got a hand in it, so it is, it's a
And
beautiful
therefore
thing.
they have ownership.
Yeah,
Can we get like a Christmas tree and have a tree lighting ceremony, like, Rockefeller Center type of thing?
yeah,
Get a nice big Swarovski crystal ball.
yeah. Oh, listen to you.
We have the tree, the PTA used to be a tree.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, and we did it the PTA park one year for the rec
Right.
department. Yeah,
I'd love
or was
to
it
do
two? Yeah, 2 winters. That was kind of neat.
that. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, Shane came down and with his boom truck and
Oh,
put
yeah.
the star on and some of the
Oh,
ornaments and
really?
stuff. Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Nice.
That was kind of
Yeah,
cool.
we need to do that.
Yeah, that was nice, and that was off the cuff, and then just an easy approval, which I was kind of surprised at the time. But it was like, yeah, if you can do it, go for it. So it was neat.
We should do it.
Yep. Yeah, we can all sit around the Christmas tree and sing.
Put one down the park.
Yeah.
Have a bonfire.
Oh,
Sing
yeah,
a
we're
Christmas carol.
Yeah.
getting close to 6. That's why I
Yeah,
look
I
at
know.
the thing.
Sorry. Okay.
So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to go into non-public session under RSA 91A.